Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reel Me In, a movie podcast where you didn't really ask for it, but hey, I'm going to give it to you anyways. This is a podcast where I talk about anything, everything, well, anything about movies. I'm your host, Chase Lee, and guys, listen. If you were searching on the internet for like some weird granny porn, you accidentally came across my podcast and you're not a movie fan, well, and you listen to this whole thing, well, maybe I can convince you to be one. This is episode 112, which is insane because my guest was like on episode 55 last time, so it's been a minute. This week's episode, this is actually the first actual episode of the new year because last year was my top 5 anticipated, and before that was the top 10 of 2015. So this week, we're going to talk about some movie news, some trailers that dropped, and of course, The Revenant the Hateful. Now, both of them are Westerns, and I have no fucking clue about Westerns, so I had to bring on the guy that like loves the genre so much that makes everyone else put to shame. It's ridiculous. So my guest, the last episode he was on was actually a really good episode. We talked about Birdman, Whiplash, and when he went to the New York Film Festival. So that was a crazy episode. So he's back once again, ladies and gentlemen. It is George McCann. George, how are we doing today?
What's up, man? What's going on?
It's like, can you believe like you were on like that long ago? That was like 70 episodes ago.
Yeah, that was, well, Whiplash was 2 years ago at New York. So was it 2 years? Yeah, I think it was.
Or was it last year?
No, it was 2 years. Like this year, yeah, 2 years. 2 festivals ago. So.
Oh my God. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting older, and I'm going to go just cry myself to sleep. So anyways, yeah, we're going to talk about some movie news, trailers, and of course.
Wait. Was Room in your top 10?
It was, and George is now crying on the inside.
Yeah, I mean, what was your number one? I'm sorry, forgive me for not having listened to it yet.
It was Revenant.
Oh, good shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
No, we're on the same page. George absolutely hates Room, and I absolutely adore it. So that's the cool thing about movies.
It's just not perfect. It's not what it's being made out to be. I like it fine.
Basically, George just said we're not friends anymore, and
I'm leaving. This was a good episode.
All right, bye. So we're gonna talk about The Revenant, Hateful Eight, and of course, box office results for the weekend. Let's go ahead and let's get this thing started, guys. But first, if you're listening on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud, and you want a video version of this podcast, you want to see me flail around like fucking Kermit the Frog, then that link will be in the description below. And if you're watching on YouTube and you're seeing me flail around, but you only want to listen to my scraggly 12-year-old middle school voice, then that link will be in the description below as well. So let's get this thing started. So, movie news. George, you have the notes. I'll let you pick first. What would you like to talk about?
I do have the notes. Can we talk about Michael Bay first, so I don't have to shoot myself before the end of the episode?
Listen, I was gonna say this till the very end, but this is actually George's favorite director of all time. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. Like he doesn't want to say it out loud, but it's like he knows deep inside Michael Bay is like the one. So Michael Bay is directing Transformers 5. George, take it away.
Okay, so here, I actually find Michael Bay really interesting. Like, I think his success is an interesting science experiment because there's a really massive difference between being talented and being successful, and Michael Bay is ridiculously successful, and I think he's pretty much talentless. So, yeah, like I find him really interesting. His movies are fucking terrible. I think I like Bad Boys. I like The Rock, and everything else is pretty much like a travesty to cinema. I'm sorry for anyone watching this and like my camera's bouncing around and shit. Weird tangent. Yeah, I don't know why he had to come back. Like because of this. Because of the fucking money. But still, like, there was this whole like writer's room of like a ton of really great writers gearing up to do something with Transformers, and like I think Stephen DeKnight was on there, the dude who did he was basically the showrunner for Daredevil last season when he did Spartacus, a bunch of other stuff. There's some good writers in that writer's room, and now Bay's gonna come and it's gonna be terrible because his movies are consistently terrible. So I'm not happy about it.
It's crazy because like they bring in all these awesome writers And guess what, guys? It doesn't mean anything because Michael Bay will take that script and go, "Oh, well, we should definitely put robot balls in there. That sounds funny."
Yeah,
like,
I don't know, man. Like, he knows, like, it's weird because the guy's like, he's like Rain Man. He knows how to direct an action sequence, like maybe like nobody else. Definitely like nobody else, actually. Like the way, and I don't think he storyboards. He just like does it, which is insane to me. And like on genius level, but the actual, aside from the action, his movies suck. So yeah, I'm just like kind of sad about it.
I've told this story many times before, and I'll say it because I don't think George has heard it. Like, I did not pay currency for Age of Extinction. Didn't see it in theaters. I didn't buy it for rent. I didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
And I won a free copy of the 3D Blu-ray for free, and I still haven't finished it. So I got it for free. I haven't given any money towards it, and I still haven't finished it. Like, that's how hard that thing is to get through. It's absurd.
I think the only one I've seen through and through is the second one.
Which is
oh my god! A guy went to high school with, worked at a movie theater. He's like, let's go see a movie for free. So we all went, and that's for whatever reason, that's the movie we saw, and it's just like, this is gross. It's a gross movie. It's really bad. It's actually terrible. The first one's like, whatever. Like, it's not awful, but I don't think it's good either. So it's just going to be like, what Bay does is he repeats himself in an increasingly adrenaline-fueled way, which just in itself becomes more and more boring each time. So it's going to be the same movie, but it's just going to be explosions. Like, Mark Wahlberg's just going to be running from explosions. That's going to be the whole movie.
I mean,
no dialogue.
I mean, obviously I have to do it because you brought it up. So the movie's probably going to just be like, and
slow motion boobs, because that's what he does. Like, his stuff is so bad.
Oh, it's terrible. Like, like I said, I couldn't even get through Age of Extinction because all it was, hey guys, how's it going? It's Mark Wahlberg. Okay, I'm an inventor. I like to invent shit. Okay, and I'm gonna put my hot daughter through college. It's gonna be awesome. I'm an inventor. Can you believe that shit? No, I can't believe that shit, Mark. No, when I saw Revenge of the Fallen, it was awful. As soon as John Turturro looked up and it was like dangling robot testicles, I was done. I was like, this is not good. But you know what? When your last movie makes over $1 billion, Paramount's gonna throw anything they can to get you back.
That's what I mean. Like, there's something about him that, like, is interesting because he just makes ridiculous. He makes buckets and buckets and buckets of money with like zero substance. So like, he's an interesting paradox.
Yeah. No, we both absolutely despise this story. However, I want to ask George this because I haven't talked to him about it. Are you excited to see 13 Hours?
No.
Like, at all?
Not at all. Like, that's a movie that I would have liked to have seen, like, Ridley Scott direct. You know, like, go back to Black Hawk Down or Peter Berg. Peter Berg would have been an interesting guy to direct that. He did Lone Survivor. But no, it's gonna be an action movie that really is something. I mean, I hate to generalize, but it comes out in January. It's a Michael Bay movie. It's probably just gonna be an action movie that sucks, and it's subject matter that, like, should actually have some weight to it. So I'm just like,
well, like, what if you hear it's like pretty good? Would you like go see it at that point?
If I hear it's pretty good, I mean, I'll see it. I have Movie Pass, so I'm just gonna see everything. So I'll definitely see it, but in no way like 13 Hours.
Yeah,
looking forward to that.
However, it is the most intriguing one out of the entire weekend. It's either that or Ride Along 2. So I mean, pick your poison.
Dude, I didn't do Ride Along 1.
I didn't either.
No, I can't.
I'm going to the screening on Tuesday, and I was like, I haven't seen the first one at all, and I'm not looking like it's gonna be painful. It's gonna be like a castration, like slowly just snipping away from my testicle.
Yeah, I don't. Kevin Hart, I don't know how he became so famous because I don't find him funny, and his movies are always bad. Like, I've never seen a Kevin Hart movie where I was like, that was a good one. That was a good Kevin Hart movie. They're always...
The sarcasm coming from your face is like, yeah, that was a good Kevin Hart movie. That was good, guys.
The one thing I do find interesting about the Benghazi movie is the dude who wrote, the author of the book, The Town, and I don't think it was called The Town, it's called something else. The dude who wrote the book, which the movie's based on, wrote the screenplay for this. So I'm curious about that. Like, I'm curious about if the script doesn't suck as bad.
It's gonna be a weird just mixture of everything, and I'm actually kind of curious about it. I'm not like jumping up and down for it, but if I have to see it, I'll fucking see it. It's not a big deal. I'm
a big fan of James Badge Hale too. So
yeah, I'm not really. Yeah, we'll see though. But anyways, Transformers 5, no.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Pass. George, did you watch the first season of Daredevil?
All right, so
here we go.
7.
Episode 7?
7, yeah.
George, it's been almost a year. What the hell are you doing?
I'm just dragging it out for whatever reason. Like, it's really good. I like it a lot, and then I'll watch an episode and be like, that was great. I'm gonna go do something else, and I won't come back to it for like a month. No, dude, it's really good, and I think it might be the best thing that Marvel has worked on to date. Really, really like it. I haven't finished it. It's great though. It's a great show. It's
really good, and I would actually I like Daredevil a lot, but I really love Jessica Jones. So it's really weird. Like, both of them are like up here for me. Like, so
I haven't started Jessica Jones yet. I don't know why.
I think you like it. In terms of like character and like story and dialogue, I liked that a bit more than Daredevil. But Daredevil had the best action sequences.
Yeah, man, dude, the action in that show is awesome. It's so good, and Rosario Dawson's great.
Oh yeah, she's really good.
Such a good side character. I want more of her in that show.
Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but watch Jessica Jones. All right, so the news is that Daredevil season 2, the premiere date has just dropped, and it is March 18th, which is exactly 1 week before Batman v Superman. So that's actually kind of interesting. But I'm really looking forward to this. We got the Punisher. We have Elektra. Like, this is going to be a juicy season. So, George, for the love of everything that is holy, fucking finish season 1 so you can get ready for season 2.
Well, look, here's the thing. I think I'm just going to, like, wait until that day and finish it and then just roll right. Because, like, here's the thing. The Punisher, I'm not, like much of a comic book person. Like, I like them. I'll pick them up here and there. But they've never been, like, my thing. But I read The Punisher week to week. I love The Punisher. The Punisher Max series has some of the most interesting, like, dark, gritty, realistic Punisher arcs ever. There's some like painfully good stuff in there on an emotional and obviously a physical level. So when Bernthal was announced, it's perfect casting.
Oh yeah.
I really would like them to like just give him his own show because he hasn't been. Punisher, while the Punisher with Thomas Jane was like fine, it wasn't really the Punisher. Although he did a short called Dirty Laundry, and it is fucking amazing. Ron Perlman's in it. Like, it's great. It's the best I've seen the Punisher to date. But I'm super excited about that. Like, the Punisher in a show that's already proven it's been doing a good job with the characters. Like, I'm excited.
Yeah, I can't wait to like see the scenes with Punisher and Daredevil facing off. Like, they're gonna be fucking awesome. So
yeah, it's gonna be cool. And also, yeah, it's just gonna be good. So you already know the content quality. Like, it's gonna be really good. So
yeah, I would. Okay, so if you finish season 1 and dip into season 2 like right away, can you promise me you'll watch Jessica Jones right afterwards?
Yeah, I need to watch it. It's just like that's a chunk of time. I don't have time to really binge watch things. I'm like,
so basically what George is saying is I have no life. George has a good life, and I sit just lonely in my room. Just
either, but I'm just trying to like movies take priority over shows for me typically.
I'm fighting that battle, man, where I'm just like I really want to finish this Netflix show, but there's so many movies I gotta watch. So like it's
also
weird.
Also, like rewatching Deadwood right now is very important because that movie's coming.
You and your westerns, man.
Deadwood's so good.
I swear to God,
Deadwood. You would love it.
I heard Deadwood was pretty good.
Deadwood's awesome. You would like it. I'm telling you, you would really like it.
Fuck
Watch
me.
the first 2 episodes.
So it's The Sopranos, Entourage, and Deadwood.
No, it's Deadwood and everything else.
So George is like,
The Wire or The Wire.
That's true.
The Wire is amazing. So you want to talk about binging? I binged 5 seasons of The Wire in 5 days.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, my brother last year for Christmas, he was telling me, he's like, you need to watch The Wire. You need to watch The Wire. You're a film person. How do you not watch The Wire? I'm like, whatever. So for Christmas, he got me the first 3 seasons of The Wire. And Christmas Day, I turned on the pilot. I was halfway through the first season by the time I had to go to family for dinner. It is so good. So good. Great show. Best show ever, in my opinion. There's
too many fucking shows to do, man. I once I pick one, I gotta run with it for a while, and if I lose interest, I'll jump on. But there's so many. Fuck me. All right. Speaking of TV shows, George, did you see Bloodline?
All right.
Oh, here we go. Another George rant.
Controversial opinions on shit. I did. I watched the first 3 episodes of Bloodline. And I was like, I've had it with all these fucking people. They're all awful.
They are.
It's just so fucking. And I like dark stuff and I like stuff about bad people, but just give me something to latch onto. I didn't find them compelling. I'm just like, you're all assholes and you're not really doing anything I find particularly interesting, so I'm gonna go watch something else. I couldn't get into it. I just did not like it.
Well, we're gonna be on the opposite side of the coin on this one too. I really liked it, and no,
I'm in the minority, way in the minority.
No, that's what I'm saying. You and I are on opposite sides, and the thing is, I liked the first season quite a lot, but the way they ended it, I was like, how in the hell are they gonna do season 2? It's one of those things where I wish it would have just ended. But there's no denying that the acting was fantastic, and Ben Mendelsohn is out of this world.
So one of my favorite movies, and so many people can't stand this film, and I'm like, you're all wrong, is Killing Them Softly. And it's Andrew Dominik's film. I think it came out in 2012, and it's Brad Pitt, it's Ben Mendelsohn, Scoot McNairy, Richard Jenkins, Ray Liotta. It's this great cast, and it's a message movie. It's not a mob movie. It's a message movie that takes place within the mob. Mm-hmm. And I saw that movie and was like, I don't know who this Mendelsohn guy is, but I'm gonna find everything he's been in and watch it all. He is him, and really you could make the case for Scoot McNairy too, but really Ben Mendelsohn is one of the best character actors in forever. He is so good, and he dives into everything he involves himself in. He's so fun to watch, and he's one of these guys you're just drawn to his presence when he's on screen. And yes, he's great in Deadline.
Deadline? Deadline? The fuck is Deadline? Mixing Deadwood and Bloodline.
60 minutes.
Ben Mendelsohn, he's one of these actors that you don't know his name or anything, but George's right, he's a character actor. So the news is he's in talks to be in a Steven Spielberg movie, Ready Player One, the book adaptation, whatever. I'm super excited for that. I'm so glad that Ben is finally getting to be out there in front of a wider audience, because he's an underrated actor for sure.
He's in Rogue One too. He's in the Star Wars.
Perfect. I completely forgot.
Yeah, he's been around. Did you ever see Animal Kingdom?
No, but that won an Oscar, didn't it?
It was nominated. I think Jackie Weaver was nominated.
Yes.
It's really good. It's strange, this Australian kind of mob movie, but not really. It's a good flick. But apparently that's what really put him on American radar. Yeah. Because he was doing a ton over in Australia and various places, but that's what made him pop here. And man, he's so fun to watch. You saw The Place Beyond the Pines?
Oh, I love that movie.
Dude, that's top 50 for me.
George, I remember specifically 3 years ago we were talking about that movie out of the...
Dude, I love that movie so much. But he's just got this tiny role, and he takes these tiny roles and makes them big roles. He's charismatic as hell, and he's so fun to watch.
Great. With him being in a Steven Spielberg movie, are you pretty hopeful?
I mean, I don't know anything about Ready Player One. I know that I know some people who have read the book and said that, like, they don't get the hype with it. I can't speak to it because I haven't read it. But look, man, anytime Spielberg goes back to sci-fi, I'm excited.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's going back to sci-fi adventure. Like, how could you not be excited about that?
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer.
Well, and my roommate, I believe he finished the book, and he said it was pretty good. So, and it's like, it's hard to explain, but it's like a bunch of fucking ideas, like from left to right, like up and down. Like it's such a mind boggler. Like I'm kind of curious to see how the hell he's going to adapt this. So, but yeah, if you guys have not seen anything with Ben Mendelsohn, please watch it, because now he's like what George says, he's in Rogue One. He's going to be in Ready Player One. Like, he's becoming more in the foreground now instead of the background. So I'm really excited to see just him work with Spielberg. So I have no idea what role.
He's a guy who deserves that, like, mainstream.
Oh, he does.
You know, like, and he's also not your, like, traditional looking leading man.
True.
Which is also, I feel like, much needed. Like, have someone who's a little more normal looking, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
I love Mendelsohn. He's great across the board. Yeah.
Well, because, like, even with George, who doesn't really particularly care for Bloodline, he can tell you right now that Mendelsohn in that fucking show is ridiculous.
His role it's also just like,
it's sad.
You feel the pain.
Oh yeah.
Like,
you really
feel
sad.
like, this guy. Yeah, that's the best. You just feel his pain. He's great. It's just the show, room for debate. He's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I'm actually really excited to see. Speaking of that show, the Golden Globes tonight, because he is nominated for Bloodline.
So fun. Ricky Gervais is back. I'm so excited about it.
Did you know I'm gonna cover the show live and stuff? I'm just gonna sit and chill in my chair. Like, I'm gonna record a podcast.
That's awesome, dude.
It's gonna be awesome. But
invite me at some point. I'll come on and crash it.
I'm gonna leave my Skype. I'm gonna leave my Skype on. So if you hear like a ringing, that's probably gonna be George. So,
man, I love all the awards. They really don't. They don't mean shit, because the right stuff really is never, at least in my opinion, or never is the wrong word, but rarely is like the proper film rewarded. Sometimes like even nominated.
Yeah.
But they're fun. Like, I love watching them. I do a pool every year for the Oscars. Like, they're just fun. And dude, Ricky Gervais is going to destroy people tonight.
Oh, I can't wait.
So excited about it.
I cannot wait. Like, he's going to be the best part of the entire show. Because I remember when he hosted 2 years ago, and when the Golden Globes were done, all that controversy was around. If you went on YouTube, there was a compilation of like every time he was on stage, and it was just joke after joke back to back, and it's simply amazing.
Also, shit-faced.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I love the award shows. They're just fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. But speaking of awards, who is gonna be nominated for an award this year for Steve Jobs? That would be Aaron Sorkin, and that is the last piece of news, guys. And the news is that he's gonna direct a film based on a book called Molly's Game. And I gotta tell you, how come it took him this long to direct a movie? Like, I figured he would have done at least a TV show or something, because he's been a writer for years. Like, he's been in this. It's not like, this writer that, like, he's been on the scene for 2 years and then he automatically directs. No, Sorkin's been around for decades. So it's fascinating to me that he's finally directing. But I really like this. I'm glad that he's actually going to try to dip his hand in directing a little bit. You mix him, his dialogue and stuff with probably a lot of walking and talking shots and directing and stuff. It's compelling, and I'm really fascinated. So, George, like, what is your overall opinion of Sorkin? Are you excited for this?
Yes and no.
Okay. Explain yourself.
I love Sorkin.
Yeah.
Like, his writing is. There are only a few people where you hear someone speak and you're like, I know who wrote that. And there's also like only a few directors. We'll talk about one in a little while.
Yeah.
You see a shot and you're like, I know who directed that. I think, and this is purely speculation, but I think the reason he hasn't like tried his hand at directing is probably because he didn't want to.
Yeah.
I think he really likes the process of writing. I'm very curious about how he would translate to being the runner of the movie. Like, being behind the camera is different than being behind the computer or sitting with a pen. Yeah, man, I don't know. There's part of me is like, I love just mythos is the wrong, but like, I love just thinking of him as a writer. Like, this is what we get from him, and like his legacy are just these amazing scripts, because he's never, in my opinion, had a bad one. But at the same time, like, I'm really curious. He's run several fantastic television shows. I'm super curious about how he would direct a picture. Like, it's exciting. I'm cool with it. I hope it's really good.
It's gonna be. I think it'll work out because, the past two movies he's adapted from books. We have Moneyball and Steve Jobs. So I think him adapting this one.
No, I'm sure the writing will be great. But with Moneyball, you had Bennett Miller directing it, who's like an auteur.
True.
And with Jobs, you had Boyle, who's also like a super talented director.
So let's think about it this way.
Not to say that Sorkin can't direct. I'm just like, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it'll be interesting, to say the least.
Well, let's think about it this way. Like, Sorkin's had this career where he's been around a bunch of directors. He's been around Boyle. He's been around Miller. He's been around Fincher. Like, this guy has been behind the scenes so much with great directors. I think he's going to have a better understanding of directing than most writers. So, because that Sorkin, he's always on set. So it's not like he's a writer. He just writes and goes off. Like, he's on set. Right. Like, if you...
No, that's a good point. And like, and he's been around for so long that I'm sure he has weight, like, on set. Like,
oh, yeah.
It's exciting. I'm curious about it. More so than like I'm happy about it, because I would have been fine if he was just like, Sorkin's adapting this book. Like, awesome. Yeah. Another Sorkin script. I'm more curious than I am excited.
I'm excited for this directorial debut, but let's face it, I am more excited for him writing the Lucille Ball biopic than anything. That is going to be Oscar bait 101 right there. So
yeah, but his stuff is like, he's never traditional Oscar bait. Like, he just doesn't do it. Steve Jobs is not, in my opinion, Oscar bait. Like, The Danish Girl is Oscar bait.
True.
And it Theory of Everything, which was terrible, is Oscar bait. His stuff is, I don't know, it's so unique
good.
to him. Yeah, it's just good. Yeah.
So, I'm really excited for his directorial debut. But yeah, the Lucille Ball biopic is going to be out of this world. So that's it for all the news, guys. If you want to comment on any of the news stories, comment in the place with my face and let me know. So there were a couple trailers that just dropped, and one of them is a horror film, and one of them is a horror film in American culture. So, George, which one would you like to talk about first?
Let's go Conjuring 2.
Perfect. So before we started recording, I don't think I've ever talked to George about the first Conjuring, but we both really like it. So I'm looking forward to the sequel. I like James Wan's horror style. He is the master at jump scares, because even me that can see this shit from a mile away, he can scare the shit out of me, because like I'll be like, oh, this is a really cool shot. This is really nice. What the fuck? Like, it's just kind of like one of those surprising moments. So George, you just watched the trailer. What did you think of the teaser?
I hope it's not the same movie. But I'm excited about it, and I hope they use London well. Like, that's my takeaway. I love these characters. I really, really dug The Conjuring. I think it's one of the best horror films. One of the best horror films. One of the best horror films we've had, and maybe since The Shining. Like, it's a great movie. So I just hope they don't retread themselves too much. But I'm excited about it. I really like James Wan, and I think he does horror better than anyone else right now. So
he does.
I'm totally on board. Yeah.
I've said this from, and George is going to give me a scowl, but I don't fucking care. I love the whole Insidious trilogy. I love the first.
No, that's fine, man. Those movies are good.
Like he's good. Like like every single movie, you feel like, oh, James Wan, he's just gonna retread stuff. No, he keeps it fresh every single fucking time. It's incredible how many ideas for jump scares he has. Like it's amazing. But yeah, The Conjuring 2 looks really good. I really liked Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. Their chemistry as Ed and Lorraine Warren for the last one. And yeah, I'm just super excited to see the sequel. It's not really a full trailer, it's just a teaser, but it kind of gets you in that like kind of mood of the first Conjuring, and comes out during the summer. So a nice little summer horror film. So
I hope they don't release any other, like, or maybe like one full trailer, but that's it. Because once they start, like, even in the teaser, I'm like, don't show me anymore. Don't show me anymore. Because horror films and comedies, man, you give away all the scares or you give away all the good jokes. Like, yeah, it's true.
Because if you remember, like from the first Conjuring trailer, I think the only main scare they kept hyping up was the clap,
was great.
Which was great. But when you watch the movie, there are plenty of more scares. So I think with the sequel, I think they're probably just going to rely on the probably the cross scene a lot and stuff, and they might have like one more jump scare. But other than that, I think they're going to save a lot for the movie because that's the way the first trailers were. Like it was nothing but the claps, and even when you watch the movie, it's still creepy. So
yeah, you know what's interesting about Juan too is he uses practical.
Yeah,
like he uses practical sets, he uses practical effects. He uses like puppets and dolls creepier than anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be good.
Well, the thing is with like James Wan is that he uses editing and camera movement for jump scares. It's not like a fast cut or edit like most of the shitty horror films do. James Wan, like, he will keep the suspense going. Like, for instance, in the teaser, it's on the cross, then it's on her face, then it's on the cross again, it's on her face, then it goes back to the cross, and then it slowly kind of pans over the wall, and you're just like, this is a pretty interesting shot. It's kind of creepy, it's kind of cool, and then like it stops, and you're just like, oh, well, that's a jump scare, and it's like, what the fuck? So he uses camera movement and editing techniques to do that, and it's fucking genius.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between a cheap jump scare and a good one. Like, they've been around forever. We've just we've become jaded because we've had shitty ones for so long. It's shitty ones in bad horror movies too. So, yeah, he does. And you can't not be excited. If you're a fan of horror, you got to be excited for a James Wan horror film.
Like, especially when he left The Conjuring going, I'm not going to make horror again. And then he's like, I'm going to do Fury 7. And he's like, oh, wait, I'll come back and do horror. It's like, okay, sure, I'll accept it.
Fury 7 did a number on him. That was a tough production. Yeah.
Well, it's like if he hated those long production days, why the hell did he accept Aquaman? So I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm excited to see that too. Yeah, so that's the first trailer. And the last trailer is all right. Now, time is like a flat circle. I don't know. I fucking forgot the line, but if you haven't seen True Detective, what the fuck are you doing with your life? It's season 1, not season 2.
Season 2 is terrible.
Yeah, season 2 is awful. Yeah, so Matthew McConaughey, he's one of my favorite, he's from my state, ladies and gentlemen. He's representing Texas pretty well. And he's in this movie called Free State of Jones, and essentially it's just a Civil War kind of drama movie, and it's played to like pretty epic proportions when you watch the trailer. And what was weird about it was when they flashed the date, and it was like, it comes out in June, and I was like, maybe this could be like the epic war film of the summer or whatever. But
is it June? I thought it was May.
Well, either way, like you when you watch the trailer, you figure like, ooh, this is probably an Oscar type of winner release. So I'll go ahead and go to George first. So what did you think of the trailer?
I loved it, dude. Okay, so this movie's been on my radar for about a year and a half. Mm-hmm. I am a huge Civil War buff. I love that time period. I find it fascinating and terrifying, and like, how did this shit happen?
Exactly.
And all this stuff, but it's a really like ripe subject matter for cinema. And this is one of those stories. Like, I didn't know this. I know a lot about that time period. I didn't know this one. And Gary Ross is directing it. I think he wrote it too. And he's a good director despite the terrible Hunger Games.
You didn't like the Hunger Games?
I hate the Hunger Games.
Like the whole franchise or just the first one?
I don't like the franchise, but I hate that. For the first one's the only one I've seen, and I hate it.
I will say this. The first one
so much.
The first one's like super below par, but then Catching Fire was so good because they switched directors. So I was like, okay, I'll stick by it.
Yeah, everybody's told me that, and I'm like, I'm so frustrated by the first one that I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna show up for the rest of them, and I didn't. But no, this trailer is great. It shows a lot of action pieces while you get the general gist of the story, but I don't think it gave away anything. McConaughey looks awesome, and it's essentially, if you know the story of like the Warsaw Ghetto, during World War II in Poland, Jews took over the ghetto and fought off the Nazis, and this is like slaves and this dude taking over an area in, I think it's South Carolina, and fighting back against the Confederate troops. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm totally on board with this. It looks pretty. Yeah, I think it's gonna be great. It's like my number 2 of the year, most anticipated. So,
like, I'm curious, what's your number 1?
My number 1's a movie called The Free World. It's with Elizabeth Moss and Boyd Holbrook. I'll see it at Sundance.
Interesting.
Or I'm gonna try anyway. Yeah, that it's much darker than this. Sure.
Well, of course. This trailer looks really great. The only thing that was kind of like, it was just weird, but I understand for marketing sake. It was like from the director of The Hunger Games and Seabiscuit. I was like, that's the weirdest combination ever. So, yeah, I understand for marketing purposes, but like it was just a jolting. But yeah, it looks really cool, and it could be the epic war movie that we need this year. So, Free State of Jones, and it's also from distributor Styx Entertainment, and they did The Gift this year or last year, and The Gift was great. Right. So the Styx Entertainment is really coming up as like an A24 almost, where they're picking really good projects. So I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, speaking of old frontier / Western movies, guys, before we get into the reviews, if you have any comments on the trailers or whatever, come to the place where I put my face and let me know. All right. So I brought George on specifically for these 2 movies. I even asked him like over a month ago. I was like, listen, I'm saving The Hateful Eight so I can do The Revenant and The Hateful Eight back to back. It's going to be a full blown out Western talk. It's going to be fantastic. So, George, you're the guest. Would you like to review The Hateful Eight first or The Revenant?
Let's start with The Hateful Eight.
Okay. So the way we're going to do this is we'll do it by the categories that I usually do my reviews in. So we'll do directing and writing, acting, cinematography, and editing, special effects, and all that stuff. So, and we'll do the pros and cons. So The Hateful Eight is the 8th film by Quentin Tarantino, and it follows a bunch of assholes, and they're stuck in a cabin, and basically it's Reservoir Dogs in the snow.
But it's not as good as Reservoir Dogs.
True, but it's still highly entertaining, and I would still recommend it to start out my review. But let's start with the directing and the writing. So Quentin Tarantino, he writes and directs all of his movies. Rightfully so, he should, because he's the master at it. So let's start with the pros of the directing and writing. So George, I'll let you go first.
All right. So the pros of the writing is really compelling 50% of the time. Okay. The cons of the writing is it's not compelling the other 50% of the time. There is I'm not going to spoil anything. I don't spoil when I review, but there is a callback in something that pays off time after time in this movie. That's one of the most like wonderful tools I've seen in a movie in a long time, and it's got one of the best endings that actually ends on a somewhat profound level. Mm-hmm. That's one of the better endings I've seen in a long time. Do you want to do writing and direction, or do you want to do writing, and then we'll do directing?
We can do writing strictly. I kind of agree with George. I felt like the script was good, and it's definitely Tarantino's style, but I didn't feel like there was enough punch to it. Like, you know, like when you watch a Tarantino movie, it's like, dude, that fucking dialogue was punchy as shit. This one was like, it was good, but it didn't feel like it had that oomph to it. And I totally agree with George. This is like, when you watch this entire like journey, the end of the movie is like, that was kind of bittersweet. I actually really like that. So, that's all I gotta say about the writing. And the story is, it's really well told. I love, because it's told in 6 chapters. It's pretty much like a stage play. It feels like a stage play. It's non-linear in some parts. It's a very creative story, especially from Tarantino's style. So That would be my pros for the writing. So what about the cons for you? Like, they just didn't really click for you.
Directing or writing?
Writing.
Because it's kind of both. Well, for the writing, I just think there's a portion of the film, like between, I guess it's the fourth, from chapter 4 to chapter 6.
Okay.
Right after they get to a little bit into getting to Minnie's haberdashery, it just slows down to a pace where I could take a nap, come back, get the same amount from the characters, blah, 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 whatever, and then pick up where I left off. Like, there's just a point in the movie where there's a solid, I want to say like 30-minute period that just doesn't further anything. It's just, they're talking, they're doing their thing, but like you were saying about the dog, it's not punchy enough for me to be really compelled by it the way I was with Reservoir Dogs. So that's a big con for me, and that's probably the biggest con for me, is that there's just a strong portion of the movies. I saw the Roadshow version, which is like 3 hours, 7 minutes with the prologue, intermission, and then the content of the film.
Yeah.
And I feel like the movie could have been 2 hours, and it would have been much better. It was cut down. Okay.
Yeah, I can see that. For me, the writing, like I said, it was just a little less punch than I would have liked, but it was still entertaining as hell, and I still liked listening to everyone just talk. That's the cool thing about Tarantino movies. You can click play. Doesn't matter which movie it is. You just want to hear them talk. Like, you just want to fucking hear it. So let's move on to the directing style. Now, I gotta tell you, this is like, it's such a weird movie for Tarantino. Like, if you look at his whole catalog, it doesn't. I don't know. It's a very strange movie, but
it's out of place in a lot of ways. Like, yeah. it has its place for certain, but it also feels out of place in other ways. It's a strange movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, though.
Well, I was just gonna say for the positives on the directing, it is, for me personally, I was very engaged throughout the story, and I really, like I said, I really like the way it was set up in 6 chapters. I like the way it was kind of non-linear in chapter 5. And I just like George, I saw the Roadshow version and the regular version. I wouldn't mind just seeing the regular version, even though I enjoyed the 3-hour experience, because George and I both know when you see it for the first time and it ends after the first half and the intermission comes up, you're like, what the fuck just happened? Like,
yeah, everybody's buzzing. Like, that was cool. That was very cool.
Yeah, but so it was kind of weird for the edited version when it went straight from that scene directly to chapter 4. I was like, it doesn't really have the same punch to it, but I still kind of enjoyed it. But yeah, I still like the story overall. It's very engaged because these people are fucking despicable. But it's like watching this like delicious train wreck, and you kind of just want to see where it goes and stuff. So I do applaud Tarantino for keeping that enticing like grasp on the story and the characters and stuff, because it does keep your interest. So that'd be my my positives for sure. So what about some of the positives that stood out for you for Tarantino?
I mean, it's pretty. It's really pretty. Yeah. I mean, people have been bitching like, this is the movie he does in 70 millimeter. They're in a cabin for half the time. I'm like, this is awesome that he used 70 millimeter in this cabin. It makes the space feel more lush, and like the space feels bigger than it actually is. Like,
yeah,
totally on board with that. I thought that was an awesome choice. Look, I have one, I guess, major issue with the direction, and it's that it feels to a certain extent like Tarantino's overdoing. He's trying to see how far he can go, and at a certain point I was like, all right, dude, you've gone that place, you're annoying me now. His style almost gets in the way for me at certain points, but it's never like a bad. I don't know. I'm really mixed on this movie. It's a good movie. It's a movie people should see. I think it's actually a really important movie.
Yeah.
It holds a really sad and strange mirror to society right now, which is fucking terrifying that we're still at this place. Has some really wonderful and tragic social commentary. There are just points in it where I'm like, that doesn't work with that, and it's too long, but it's still very good, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I'm gonna go ahead and just jump into the negatives with the directing. Listen, I I agree with George. Like, when you watch the movie, it's like this bloody, ridiculous adventure, but those last final moments of Chapter 6 are so profound, they actually make up for the entire thing. And it's actually a really gross commentary because the whole movie is violent as shit, but the way they kind of end on the movie, it's like, oh, wow, that's kind of like what we're facing now with brutality and stuff. So I really like that. However, I agree with George. There is a few scenes with the violence. Now, listen, I'm a Tarantino fanboy. I realize that he is bloody and ridiculous. However,
me too, man. I love his stuff. I adore his stuff. I was so excited for this movie, but go ahead. Yeah.
I'm going to say this right now. I love Hostel as a guilty pleasure, but there were a couple scenes in The Hateful Eight where I was like, Tarantino, you have borderline gone into Saw and Hostel territory, and I was like, that doesn't really do it for me with this one. George knows what I'm talking about. I'm going to go ahead and just do this motion right here. He knows what I'm talking about. It's just like, it was too much, you know? So yeah, the violence got in the way of the story just a little bit for me. But I want to comment on the 70mm thing. George is right. The outside shots are gorgeous. They're absolutely beautiful. They're breathtaking. They really they showcase the beauty on the outside while it's the hatred and the anger on the inside of the character. It's great. It's great contrast. The cabin, however, when you show it in 70mm, yeah, there are a few shots that it really doesn't matter what frame it is. I agree. But for the most part, you can actually see everything that's going on. If two characters are in the middle of the frame, you can place other characters on the sides of the frame, and it's kind of like literally watching this live-action version of Clue. You can be like, wow, as he's talking, that guy's doing something over there, or holy shit, look over there in the corner, like something's happening. Like, you can see everything, and it makes the cabin look bigger than it actually is. But other than some of the violence that was a little too overboard for me, I was okay with majority of the directing. But you already covered your cons, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's my. I really liked it. I wanted to love it. My other thing about the violence is I think I would be fine with the amount of violence. I think the movie would have been almost would have made its point better if he had gone back to like Reservoir Dogs style violence and making it feel grounded in reality, as opposed to going to Inglourious Bastards and having it feel like
over the top,
so pulpy.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have made a stronger point, but fucking Tarantino, you can't tell Tarantino what to do. The guy's a genius, and the movie, look, as much as it has its flaws, it's still a great addition to his catalog, and the score is amazing.
Yeah.
Ennio Morricone doing the score for this movie. The score is freaking fantastic. Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, yeah. See, me and George are pretty much transfixed on it. It's really great. So, moving on to the acting, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I have no cons with the acting. Everyone from the main people to the supporting people. See, George is shaking his head. I can't wait to hear this.
No, I agree.
Oh, I thought you were shaking your head like, no, there's some bad people. No,
yeah, no, I have zero issues.
I have to ask you though. You could only pick one. Who was your favorite?
Favorite's the wrong word.
Favorite performance.
Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins was great. Walton Goggins, like, it was out of the blue because like he came into the movie as like, oh, he's probably gonna be a supporting character. He'll round out nicely, and it's like as the movie progressed, he became more of a main character. And I was
it's really become his story.
Like,
yeah.
Walton Goggins was ridiculous, and I gotta say this. I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. I think out of Samuel L. Jackson's like 10,000 movies he's done on his resume, this has got to be one of the best and entertaining performances he's ever done. I absolutely I loved.
I didn't like the monologue.
You didn't like the monologue?
I mean the and I don't want to dive into spoiler territory, but I felt it was so self-indulgent and one of those things where it's like push it. Just step right over and keep it. Like, it was one of those things where I'm like, that didn't need to be there. It felt gratuitous. And like, I get that Tarantino's gratuitous, but for this one, it felt more gratuitous than Tarantino's typical gratuitousness. If that makes sense.
I agree. Like, when you watch it for the first time, like, it's really hard to talk about because we don't spoil anything on here, but you know, this is kind of like the climax of the first half, and I thought it was appropriate just because of what, you know, what.
Yes.
Yeah, what Bruce Dern did to him, I felt like it was totally justified. And you got to keep in mind, I don't think that actually happened. I think he planted those images in his head to make him draw the gun.
Right.
So
right.
I think it was okay for what it was. And plus, what Samuel L. Jackson went through as a character, I was like, you know what? He's kind of shitty, but I understand where he's coming from. So
it's oh man, the way he delivers it though is like.
It's very comical.
It's so good. Yeah, dude, the movie's hysterical.
Oh,
it's a comedy. It's a dark comedy through and through. Like, yeah.
Yeah, the acting all around's great. And I have to say this. Kurt Russell just might be like one of my favorites like to ever live. Like, he's so entertaining in this role as the hangman. Like, I'm taking this woman to hang. Like, he's so into it.
Like,
oh, and she was really great too. She was the disgusting bitch. Like,
she's so evil. And it's funny to me. There's been like comments like, oh, you know, Tarantino's like claims of like misogyny and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, people shut up.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
First of all, have you seen Kill Bill? Have you seen Pulp Fiction? Like, he goes out of his way to create amazing female characters, and she's a murderer.
Yeah, no, she's
murdering people.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to inform you, but Daisy Domergue is a disgusting human being in the movie. It is okay to hate her. Like,
yeah, like she's a bitch.
Yes, she is.
She needs to go. And that's not misogyny. That's like, if that was a guy and they murdered people, and someone's like, hey, you're a fucking asshole, no one would be like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't call that guy that.
don't do that.
Guys.
Yeah, just, and to that, I would say go grab your Keystone Light and go play fucking beer pong, you fucking frat asshole.
I mean, look, if you want to get into the whole conversation, like, there needs to be more strong female roles, blah, 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 whatever they're due. It's a valid argument.
True.
Valid. There's a valid conversation there, and it's an important one. But this is misplacing that conversation. The character's just a terrible human being.
It's such a great performance, too. Like, that last monologue she gives.
Outrageously good.
I think me and George are going to agree on this. She is going to win supporting actress, hands down, at the Oscars.
I hope she does, because it'll be another one of these, like, and she also was in Anomalisa, and she's great.
She's great in that movie.
I really hope she does. The Academy. I don't know.
In the Academy.
Yeah.
No, like, I think they'll probably give it to her because they gave Christoph Waltz supporting actor twice in a row. So I mean, I think they're probably going to.
The second time he didn't deserve it too.
Leo should have deserved it. That's a whole different conversation. Yeah. But the acting is all around fantastic. And moving on to the cinematography, I think we pretty much covered in the directing. I have no qualms with the cinematography. It is beautiful on the outside. It is wide in scope on the inside. And the cool thing I love about The Hateful Eight with the cinematography and the sound design and stuff, when you were outside, you felt cold. When you were on the inside, you felt warm. Like, that's how crazy it was with the temperature. But George knows what I'm talking about. There's one shot on the outside when they're in the stagecoach. It's kind of like at a slant when they're kind of going up. It was such a gorgeous shot. I was like, the mountains and the sky. It was so rich. And then you know that, like, in that stagecoach, like, there's nothing but hell. Like, it's, like I said, I love the contrast. So, do you want to add any more to the cinematography?
No, it's beautiful. And it's in 70, and it's beautiful.
And however, this is a good looking movie, but we're going to gush a little bit more in The Revenant when we get to that. But in terms of like The Hateful Eight, moving on to like the editing and the special effects and stuff, like I told you in the directing, does it need to be 3 hours? No. But was it a great experience? Yes. However, I prefer the edited version over the 3 hour version. So I think if you were to, however, it's so hard because I love the overture. It sets the tone. It engrosses you in the movie. But did you need an intermission? No. For me personally, George didn't really like, the kind of like the slowness of 4 through 6. I liked it. I thought it was definitely slower than the first 3 chapters, but I enjoyed it overall.
Just, there's not anything. I don't feel it earned the runtime.
Okay.
And that's like it wasn't that I didn't like it. It's fine, but when you have a 3 hour, 7 minute movie, or 2:45. You want to like take out the intermission. You gotta earn those minutes. Like once you get past 120 minutes, you gotta earn the rest of it.
Okay.
And I just never felt like it did that. But it's still a great. Like it's an important movie. Like it's good. It's not bad by any means. So and it just editing wise, it just could have been cut down a little bit. But it's like I don't have huge complaints with it.
Yeah, I know. I think it's a well-paced movie, and I'm not going to really argue with George. I think if you look at it, because when you look at chapter 4 through 6, it's like a completely different movie because it's more like Clue.
Yeah,
it's more like Clue at that point, and the first 3 are like this really cool. Like I don't know. I'm okay with it, but I'm not going to argue with George. I think if you cut it down, it's not going to really hurt it. So overall, this is in the middle for me in terms of Tarantino. If you want to talk about like out of this 8, I would probably put it at 4 or 3. I'm okay with putting it that low. George is giving me a look right now, but George,
I'm just trying to think where I put it.
Where would you?
I think Inglourious Basterds is still his best. I'd go like Inglourious Basterds, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill Volume 1, Kill Bill Volume 2, Hateful Eight.
Okay.
Jackie Brown.
I have no qualms with that. That's actually a pretty good list. So, George, I forgot. Do you do letters or you do stars?
I don't usually grade, but when I do stars. I'd give it like 3.5 or 3.25. Like it's definitely fresh.
Okay, I would give it an A. I give it a solid A. I really enjoyed it. It's listen. Even if you don't really like the characters or the story, you cannot deny this is a entertaining fucking movie, and you will be enthralled from start to finish. So,
Tarantino.
It's Tarantino. So, before we get on to the Revenant, I asked Jackson this, and I asked a couple other people if Tarantino hypothetically is doing only 2 more movies. What do you think those 2 will be? Like what genre?
Right. Okay. So I think we'll get the gangster movie that he talked about. I think we'll get another Western. So my guess would be we'll get a gangster movie and a Western.
I am slightly different on that. I think he will do a gangster movie for his next one, but I think if he's only doing 10, I think he's going to go out with a bang and do Kill Bill Volume 3.
We don't need I was talking about this the other day. We don't need Kill Bill Volume 2.
But George, we want it though. We want it.
Bill is dead. Bill's been dead for a while.
But George, we want it.
Carradine's dead.
Yeah.
Like that story is done. Why do we? I feel like that's a waste of his talent. Andy, who I do the podcast with, was saying that he wants to see him do obviously a gangster movie.
Yeah.
But he wants to see him go and do a hardcore horror movie.
Oh, for sure. I'm totally on board.
Cool.
Yeah.
I actually really want to see him do a massive war movie. Like
that'd be kind of cool.
Huge war movie in scope, like the Battle of the Bulge, but Tarantino's style. I'd like to see that. I don't know. But I think we'll get a gangster movie and a Western.
Gangster movie, I totally agree on, but that 10th movie is kind of up in the air. But if he does retire after 10, would it be badass if he did nothing but like Netflix series or something like?
That's what he's gonna do. I know he's gonna do plays. Like he wants to do that. He's gonna write books because he's already been dabbling in that with the graphic novels, and his stuff will go to HBO or Hulu or Netflix. Like he's not gonna stop working. He's just gonna be like, I hate digital in the cinema, so I'll do digital where digital should be done, and he'll do miniseries, which. It's fine.
I would love to see a miniseries from him. Like, I don't care what it is. I would just love to see it.
Yeah, me too. While I didn't love this movie, he's never done something where I've been like, that wasn't good. He's one of the greats, man. So
he's one of those directors where I will stand up for Death Proof until the fucking cows come home. But I can tell you.
Did exactly what it set out to do.
It's a fucking grindhouse movie.
It's a B minus, terrible, awesome grindhouse movie.
That's what it was. Like I've never understood why everyone was so up in arms. Like this was terrible. It's a fucking grindhouse double feature. What'd you expect?
It's supposed to be that way. Yeah,
and it was good. Totally. I liked it for what it was. And I agree with George. Like, out of the 8 he's done, I have never disliked any of his movies, like, at all. Like, and I will totally stand up for Death Proof, because even if you hate the movie, Kurt Russell was a fucking badass in that movie.
I actually really like Death Proof. It's not anywhere near the top for me, but it's so fun and goofy, and Kurt Russell's awesome.
He's awesome as the driver.
It's a grindhouse Tarantino movie. How could you not like that? It's such a fun flick.
And like, I hate the fact that Tarantino is backtracking. Like, Death Proof is my worst. It's like, but Tarantino, you did what you were supposed to do with that movie. Like,
it definitely is his worst, but not due to the movie. Like, the movie is void of substance. That's what grindhouse movies are, void of substance. They're just over the top nonsense. Mm-hmm. Like, it's his worst movie, but because his other movies are also rich in substance, like, it's comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah, no, that's a different topic for another day. But for all you guys that have seen The Hateful Eight, what did you guys think of the movie? Comment in the place up on my face and let me know. And did you like the roadshow version over the edited version? I'd like to know your thoughts, because I have seen both. But I think me and George will both agree the whole roadshow experience was fantastic. And we forgot to mention,
it's always nice seeing a Tarantino movie, and like, I've only had it leaving the theater. Now we've had it with the intermission, which was cool. But people have such different reactions to his movies. Like, you have one person say, that's the best movie I've seen in a long time. One person saying, that movie sucked. One person saying, that movie was disgusting. One person saying, that movie was all over the place, because people respond to him differently. So it's fun having that conversation at intermission. Cool.
Well, what's fascinating about Tarantino is, before we move on, is like, this guy is getting more popular as he goes. Like, he's not losing his touch. Like, look at Inglourious Basterds. It was one of his most profitable films. Look at Django. It topped even that. And I was like, why is his fan base like growing all of a sudden? I think people are just starting to realize that he's one of the best out there. And like, I think he's really grasping on mainstream movies and stuff, especially with Django. And so is Django more mainstream than Hateful Eight? Yes. That is for damn sure. But I think you should see The Hateful Eight for sure. And we forgot to mention
see it 70.
We forgot to mention the score. It is my favorite score of 2015. I absolutely loved it.
It's not my favorite. I think the Carol or maybe The Revenant, but it is.
I would agree. Yeah. Especially with that overture, it's a sense of dread and like misery. You're like,
haunting. It's Marconi at its best. It's so good.
Yeah. So enough gushing about that. Let's move on to the second film that we're going to review today, and that would be the ever so delicious Twist Your Nipples, ladies and gentlemen. It is The Revenant. So a little backstory on this one is that the director, Alejandro González Iñárritu, he recently won director producing credit for Best Picture and writing credit for Birdman, which was Best Picture winner of last year. So going to The Revenant, especially if you're an Iñárritu fan, especially if you've seen his earlier films like 21 Grams and stuff, you know that this is going to be a treat. I can tell you this right now before we get into our review. Not only was The Revenant my favorite film in 2015, this was the type of movie to where Iñárritu stuck his hand out of the screen, grabbed you by the throat, and said, I'm not fucking letting you go for 2 hours and 40 minutes. That was the type of movie it was. So let's go ahead and break this down. Let's start with the writing.
The writing's fine.
I'm
so perplexed by people who are like, oh, there's no substance in this movie. It's like 1A to 1. It's a fucking Western. Westerns have essentially 3 modes. You have revenge mode, you have the outlaw mode, and you have the bad guy comes into town, good guy has to deal with bad guy mode. There's only like really 3 modes in Westerns. They're all A to B stories. Even fucking Unforgiven, one of the best, A to B. Once Upon a Time in the West, A to B. They're all A to B stories. Sometimes you have like a little side story here, a little side story there. This is old school Western formula, A to B. It's what you get, and it's what it is. I don't understand the people. There's nothing here. What the fuck are you talking about? There's nothing here. It's a Western.
Yeah, for the writing, there's really nothing to argue. the writing's fine. It serves its purpose. Like, that's all it is. Like, it's not, you don't go to this movie and walk out and go, well, goddamn, that dialogue was fantastic. It's not like something like a Tarantino where it's like, man, some of those monologues were fucking dope. This is the type of movie to where, like George said, it's from A to B. There's nothing wrong with that. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Simple story.
Yeah, so, I mean, we really don't need to talk about the writing that much. So let's talk about the fucking directing.
It's great.
It opens up with one of the most visceral, brutal, like, violent scenes I've seen in a movie in quite some time. And you know from that point on, this is going to be a fucking journey. And I love the fact that they shot on location. It was in natural light. And Inarritu was like, no, we're going to make this feel as realistic as possible. The brutality and the visceralness of this movie, like, in contrast, once again, to the beautiful side of nature, is just outstanding. And it shows, like, the disgusting side of humans. And this is a brutal movie. Let's make no mistake about that. And I think Inarritu wants you to see that. I think he wants you to realize people were like this back in the day. And he wanted to
still like it in a lot of ways.
Exactly. Like, me and George are going to do a bar brawl later this week. No, but I think Inarritu, this is one of his strongest directorial efforts to date, in my opinion. So I don't have any cons with the directing that much. It's really hard to talk about because George knows what I'm talking about. Domhnall Gleeson makes a decision early on to where you're just like, could that been avoided so we wouldn't really have this whole revenge story? But I can see where they're coming from. So that might be my only complaint with the directing is in terms with the characters and some of their decisions that they made. Yeah, but like I said, it's really hard to discuss. So
didn't bother me. I know exactly what you're talking about. In the snow on the mountain?
Yeah.
Didn't bother me.
Okay.
I'm like, whatever, fine. I think a lot of that goes back to the Western genre in some ways, but also he's young.
He really is.
He's a young guy leading this whole thing, so that didn't bother me at all. The direction's outstanding. Birdman had issues. The Revenant does not. That's kind of how I look at it. Mm-hmm. I like Birdman. I still think that. I think this might be this or 21 Grams.
21 Grams is really good.
My levels of Inarritu, but this movie is like, it's bold, it's ambitious, it's beautiful, it's dark and disturbing and haunting and like lush and just everything. It explores human nature while simultaneously being like, we suck.
Yeah, exactly.
It hits on all cylinders. It's my number 2 of the year. I loved it, and the score is so good. It's got such a subtle score that you don't like. I saw it again last night or the night before, and I was watching it and get to essentially the climax at the end. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, there's that score again. Oh, it's making me feel things. Yeah. Like, the score is so good in this movie.
Well, to go off on your point on the score, unlike The Hateful Eight, where like it felt like a Western, the score to The Revenant felt very bare bones, kind of like what the characters were going through, which is great. It fit the movie very, very well.
There's like a lot of cello in there. Yeah. Or bass. It's and drums. It uses drums well.
It's very barbaric, just like the characters. Yeah. So like it's the score, it fits it very well. So let's move on to what everyone wants to hear about, the fucking acting. Now,
talk about Lubezki though. Can we talk about
that's in cinematography? Okay. We'll get to. Trust me, we will gush over that, and I will have my praises for him. But I'm gonna go ahead and say this right now, and I don't know if George is gonna agree with me. This Oscar race is going to be tight, but I think Leo's got it in the bag. I think this might be his year. I'm gonna say about a 60-40 split on that. I think that he's got a 60% chance of getting it. And I think Fassbender's got the other 40. Now,
I hope so, man. They always screw him. Always. I think he won like 5 times, and he always gets screwed. So.
Well, and this is why I'm going to say he's going to win. I'm going to start with the positives of the acting. You can see the fucking dedication seep through the screen, and you sit there and realize, holy shit, they went through this. Like, Leo was in the snow, crawling on his ass. He is going through the river. He is walking around. He is cold. He is losing weight from starvation. it is crazy how much dedication this guy pours in, and he keeps getting screwed over. He was fantastic. I love Leo in this movie. You felt the pain, you felt the rage within it. And this was one of the few movies
where he also has like a paragraph of English, and that's it.
That's
Everything
it.
else is either in a different language or just in the eyes.
Well, you know what's fascinating about this role among anything he's ever done is that it's like what George says. He barely has any dialogue, but you can see his emotions through his face, through his body actions. It's incredible. Supporting cast, I love Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy is one of my favorites. He was a great he was a shitty person.
I liked Tom Hardy in this way more the second time I saw it. I liked him in it the first time. The second time I saw it, I was like, yeah, Tom Hardy's fucking awesome in this movie.
Oh, he's great. He's a shitty person.
Yeah, he's terrible.
He's so shitty.
I watched an interview with him, and he was saying that like he loved Tom Berenger in Dune, and he was channeling a little bit of that. Okay. And I'm watching it, I'm like, he was channeling a lot of that. This is so much like Barnes and Platoon. And when I saw that, I was like, I was for whatever reason was more captivated. And he's great. But I think the best person other than Leo is Will Poulter.
Dude, he was fucking surprising.
He might even maybe be better than Leo, but that might be stretching it. It's such a much smaller part. But he is so good. He portrays, again, eyes and body language, not a whole lot of dialogue, more than Leo, but my God, he is great in this movie. And like the fear and the just being like this naive kid, really, with these hardened kind of bastards. Yeah, he's got this sense of this moral compass that is just getting fucked every way. Yeah, you know, he just keeps getting screwed, and he's outstanding.
Yeah, you know what's really funny is I had no idea Will Poulter was even in this movie. When I saw him, I was like, holy shit, that's the kid from We're the Millers. So I was like, what is he doing in here? So, no, he was very, very surprising. But yeah, when you watch that first battle alone with Leo and stuff, and you see the horror on his face, he's like, oh my God, like what the hell's going on? You were sold automatically. So the acting is top notch. I believe he will win the Oscar. And I'm making a bold prediction right now. I think Inarritu is going to win his second one in a row. That's questionable. I think it's
going to come down to three. Well, I don't know. See, like I think personally that Todd Haynes should win, but I don't know. It's so tough. Carol's like a masterpiece in my opinion. But the thing with this is I think it's going to come down to a couple of people, and it's going to be strange because I think some of them might not get nominated, and then that's going to tell you who will win. I think it would come down to McCarthy for Spotlight,
I agree.
Which I think is a joke. I don't think he should win Best Director. Screenplay, you can make a case for it, but director, hell no. But he'll be in there. Haynes, if Haynes gets nominated, he's got a strong chance to win. He should be nominated. George Miller, if he gets nominated, he has a strong chance to win, but I don't think he'll get nominated. I hope he does. And Inarritu. Like, those are the four who I'm like, it's going to be one of these guys.
I totally agree. I just think for the sheer amount of pain and misery that the film crew went through, and just to seeing the product on screen, I think yeah, he totally earns it. So yeah, those are my predictions for actor and director. However,
this is a lock.
However, this is another lock once again for the third year in a row. Lubezki is going to win Best Cinematography because this, my friends, is one of the best cinematographers in the business next to Roger Deakins. This guy is a fucking beast.
There is a chance he might be better. I think he might have outmastered the master.
No,
I haven't seen enough like variation from him to really make a solid to say for sure that he's better. But
if you want to talk about this year alone, like, listen.
Oh, it's so much nicer than Sicario.
Listen, Sicario is beautiful, and the nighttime scenes are absolutely outstanding on what he did with the light and stuff. But what Lubezki did with The Revenant is absolutely breathtaking. It is seriously like looking at a frontier painting come to life. Like, that's how insane this movie is.
My jaw literally dropped.
Oh, yeah, a few times.
Actually, physically.
We can talk about the cinematography until the cows come home, but George and I have to mention the infamous bear scene. Not only was that shot to perfection.
That's the greatest cinematic achievement out of 2015.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I know how they did it, but I still don't know how they did it.
And that's the thing. Like, George and I are very much into the film industry and stuff. And, like, I graduated in filmmaking and stuff. And even me sitting there, I was like, okay, you shot natural light. That bear is CGI. You had to move the camera around very fluently with Leo doing his acting and stuff. How in the fuck did you do that? Like, that scene is one of the best scenes in film history. You will be talking about it for years to come. I'm telling you,
it'll be studied over and over for sure. And the thing is, I know the bear is CGI.
Yeah,
but it didn't look
CGI. Yeah,
CGI.
They looked really good.
So I don't know how they. I really don't know how they did it. It was
great because when I heard I watched the director's roundtable, and Inarritu said like it took him weeks to practice it just on rehearsal, and I was like, that's crazy. So yeah, that scene is one of the best things ever. But the thing I like about Lubezki's cinematography, and that goes with Gravity and Birdman, he has this like dreamlike quality to it that's kind of like free floating. I love that. It places you in that time, in that moment, and it just makes you feel more a part of the experience. And listen,
and the movie's made up of tracking shots. It's just long tracking shots.
Long tracking shots and really great establishing shots. Like he is the master at it.
He's establishing shots well.
Like George, can you think of any cinematographer in history that's gonna like has won 3 Oscars in a row?
No, man, I don't know. I know Deakins hasn't won once, which is a travesty.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. Because listen, as much as I love Deakins, you got outshined this year. You just did.
Oh no, and it happens. But how he didn't win for, you could take your pick, but I always go to Shawshank. Like,
yeah.
But no, man, I don't know how. First of all, I don't know why they would do it this way, because they knew it. I mean, I know why, the artistic vision of it, and it paid off, but you're setting yourself up for hell. And
it's not only that, like you and I will get to the box office in just a minute, but guys, this movie cost $135 million, which to break even, you need about $270 million. That is insane to me. Like this movie is probably going to tank, which makes me sad a little bit because it's a really great film, but it costs way too much. I understand what Inarritu was trying to go for, but dude, this might put him in the coffin for a little bit.
Like on the flip side of that, though, I watched the producers roundtable, and one of the producers was like, "We knew it was going to cost when we gave them the budget. We knew it was going to cost more."
Yeah.
And then when he came back to them, they weren't like, "We don't have the money. We don't want to do it." So on the flip side of that, like, you can't entirely be like, "Hey, if they're going to give you more resources, of course you're going to take them."
Mm-hmm.
And also, this movie was never going to make its money back.
No.
It's just the subject matter. It does not have a chance to make its money back.
However, I think when we get to the box office, there's a little bit of hope because it actually did a lot better.
There's a lot of hope, but I just don't think it's going to make $300 million.
No. Listen, is Leo a draw? You're damn right he is. Wolf of Wall Street cost $100 million. They made almost 400 worldwide. So, I mean, he does have appeal.
Also Scorsese, and it's not a Western. And I mean, look, I love this movie. It's a remarkable achievement, and Leo is outstanding. Really, everybody's outstanding. And it is.
George, I have to ask you this. Like, when I was watching the trailers, I was like, if you want to try to sell this movie as best as possible, why did you not anywhere in the trailer put director of Birdman? Since Birdman won Best Picture, you figured that'd be a nice marketing pull, right?
Right. Yeah. Also, they really build it as an art film.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, it totally is. Hopefully more people will see it, but it is an art house, like, it's right up my alley.
Yeah.
But it's not a mainstream movie by any sense of the imagination. I think part of that is, like, they build it towards the people who knew who Inarritu is.
Well, and the thing is with Birdman is, like, it was super artistic, but, like, once the Oscar nominations came out, it boosted. So
yeah, but it also wasn't it's not a bad movie. Birdman's not a bad movie.
I like it. It's not like
it's not Best Picture.
No, that's a different argument for a different day. I think Boyhood should have won. But the thing is, like, with Birdman, I liked it. It was fine. But, like, I like 21 Grams better. But that established fan base between the film community, we are already excited for the Revenant.
Right. That, like, yeah. But I really think they build it to film students and to film. Like, I don't think they ever expected the general audience. Like, I could imagine them cutting another trailer after the Oscars that they put up in, like, over football.
Yeah.
And well, I guess Super Bowl will be done by then, but they'll put it up and be like, nominated for blah 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 blah, or winner of blah 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 blah, director of Birdman. But I think they were marketing it to us.
Yeah. Well, because
I mean, it worked to a certain extent.
Well, when you watch the trailer, it's very artsy. It's like super mysterious and stuff.
They scored it with breath.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember when the first trailer came out. George was like one of the first people I talked to about it. Like, we were just like, oh my god, this movie's gonna be great. It's like,
it plays like a lucid dream.
Yeah, it does.
And that's one other thing. Like, people were, I heard some people being like, the pacing isn't the greatest, and I heard other people saying that the kind of like not supernatural, but the dreamlike qualities didn't particularly work for them. And I totally disagree with all that, because I think the movie is, in a lot of senses, a spiritual
journey.
Yeah. And when you look at it that way, it all makes perfect sense, at least to me.
Well, I mean, let's jump right into it, getting into the editing and the special effects. I mean, the special effects are outstanding with the bear and a bunch of other sequences, but
that fight scene at the end too.
Oh, the fight scene was ridiculous. Like I said, the CGI was like super realistic to a point where I was like, oh my god, he's actually getting attacked by a bear. Like,
yeah.
No, but here's the argument I will make for the editing and the pace. For me, and I can probably speak for George, I was hooked. I didn't find any slow parts whatsoever, but I can see a normal moviegoer that's like the 99%, because we're the 1%, go, that was a little too slow for my taste. I can understand that. So
and it's brooding and it's brutal, and like it's taxing on the psyche. Yes. Like it's a heavy. I like that shit. Like I love depressing dark movies.
Yeah, I do too.
But it's an effort to get through, just in terms of the subject matter.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's gonna be like, go watch Schindler's List a second time.
Yeah.
I mean. It's heavy material, but it does what it set out to do, and then some.
Well, and that's what I was saying at the very beginning. It's like Inarritu grabs you by the throat and does not let go. Yeah. But I can see a normal moviegoer go, it's a little too slow or a little too brutal. I totally get that. This is not a movie for everyone, but I'm telling you right now, for me personally, it is my favorite film of 2015. I would seriously just give this an A+. I did, and I stand by that. George, what would you rate it?
Without a doubt, 5 out of 5. I think, like, it kind of annoys me when people say it's void of substance, because it's a western. It's the number one western tale. It's a revenge story. Like, that's what so many of them were.
Well, that's what the Revenant means, is back from the dead. Like, that's what he does. He crawls out of the grave.
I think it's actually really rich with substance when you kick in the dreamlike qualities to it, and the spiritualness of it, and the Native American aspects in it. That arc is like remarkably.
Oh, it was so creepy.
It's a great fucking movie. It's filled with stuff. Just because it's not spelling it out for you doesn't mean there's not stuff.
Yeah, no, and you know what's like really crazy is, like, I know a bunch of other Dallas outlets that I go to screenings with. Like, they put The Revenant as their number one. And the lady that I write for does not like Leonardo DiCaprio. Guess what her number one movie was last year? The fucking Revenant. So that should say something right there. So yeah, The Revenant gets high praise from all around. The Hateful Eight, high praise from me. George really likes it, but there are some issues with him. But overall, guys, I would recommend both of these. And even if you have a hard time picking, go see both. Like,
yeah, and in the case, 100% The Revenant. In the case of The Hateful Eight, I have issues with it, but see it, and see it in 70. Like, it's an important movie, not only for our time, but I think also for for cinema. Like, film's not going to be around that much longer. It's tragic and it's depressing and it pisses me off, but it is on its way out, and there really isn't anything we can do about it. We can just delay it. See as many movies in film as we can. And Hateful Eight's an experience. Go.
Yeah, I would recommend.
See The Revenant multiple times.
Yeah, exactly. I would recommend both, but for me and George's, like, film boners, we're going to tell you to go see The Revenant for sure. I mean, that was my favorite film of last year. It was George's second favorite, right?
Yep.
Yeah, second favorite. So, so that's our reviews, guys. But speaking of The Revenant and The Hateful Eight, let's jump into the box office results. George, you didn't look at it, right?
I have not. I can pull it up right now.
Okay, don't look at it.
Okay.
I want you to try to guess the top 5.
Oh my god. I don't even know what's out right now.
Movies. Movies are out right now.
Yeah, but like there's because I see all the Oscar movies before everybody else does because I'm in New York. So I don't know. So hold on. Let me just go to comingsoon.net and see what's playing.
What's playing?
Then I'll give they don't have box office on there.
So I'll give George a second to look at, but yeah, this.
Oh shit, they do have box office on there. All right, so I'm gonna ignore box office.
Just try your best.
All right, so the Star Wars is 1.
Okay. The Revenant went wide this weekend.
2. The Revenant 2.
Okay.
Point Break 3.
Okay. There was a new movie that came out this week besides The Revenant.
Yeah, The Forest or whatever.
Yeah.
That's got to be a 5.
Okay.
So let's see: Star Wars, The Revenant, Point Break. What else is out right now?
I mean, you got The Hateful Eight, you got Sisters.
The Hateful Eight, and
The Forest.
Forest, yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you that you got 2 right.
Okay.
First of all, Point Break came in at 11th place.
That's amazing. I'm so happy about that.
I mean,
I'm serious. That movie should never have been made.
Yeah, no, it's awful. Because right now it's tanking pretty bad.
Good.
Number 5 is Sisters. It actually held in there.
I kind of want to see it.
It was okay. I would say, like, if you are bored and you just want to go laugh at a few moments, sure, go for it.
I'll support Faye and Polar. Like, they're the best. So.
Like, they're great, but my favorite person in the entire movie was Bobby Moynihan. That guy was fucking hysterical.
Okay.
He was great. No, Sisters came in at number 5 with 7.1 million, and its budget on that movie is 30 million and needs to make about 60 to break even. Domestically, which is the U.S. and Canada, it's got about 74, and worldwide 83. So it did pretty good.
Yeah,
it did better than Baby Mama, which that movie sucked. That movie was awful. Number 4 was The Forest with 13 million, which is pretty impressive because its budget is 10. So it needs to make about 7 to 8 more million just to break even. Like, it's got it. So
yeah, I'll have that in the bag.
So no, that one's fine. So number 3 is Daddy's Home with 15 million. This movie's a juggernaut and it's a piece of shit. Worldwide, it's got 154 million. Why? I have no fucking clue. I gave it a D+, so take that with what you will. The movie was awful. I fucking hated it. I hated sitting through it. These are the 2 that George got right. Of course, Star Wars is number 1, but The Revenant's number 2.
Forgot that Star Wars was still out. Jesus.
However, The Revenant was only $3 million away from tying with Star Wars.
Wow.
So The Revenant came in at number 2 with $38 million, which is really impressive for that type of movie. So The Revenant came in second place with 38 million.
What's it made worldwide, though?
Worldwide, it made 59. So
it's on its way.
It's on its way. It needs to make about, like I said, 270 to break even. Still got a long way to go, but 59 for this type of movie, dude, that's a great start.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like. It's gonna get the awards buzz, so that could really.
It's gonna really push it.
That could push it, yeah.
So I'm kind of excited for it. I think it might do it. Because I know talking to Jackson, me and him were really worried about it. I mean, rightfully so. The fucking budget is 135. It's more than Fantastic Four, ladies and gentlemen. And that movie had special.
Don't compare.
Oh yeah, no, that movie was balls. That movie was fucking gross. And the number one is Star Wars with 41 million. It's doing fine, guys.
Worldwide.
Worldwide, it's made 1.7 billion. It's only about $1.2 billion away from beating Avatar worldwide. However, it is.
Avatar's garbage.
Well, I like Avatar, but
it's so bad.
I still like you, George. But no, it's number one domestically, but worldwide, Avatar and Titanic are still topping it. However, I think Star Wars. I don't think it will beat Avatar, but I know for a fact it will beat Titanic. Guys, you put this in perspective. It still needs $1 billion just to tie Avatar. There's no fucking way.
I don't know, man. It has not been out that long.
I mean, it's been out for 4 weeks, which is ridiculous because let's put this in perspective. At its 24-day mark, Avatar was at 430 million domestically. At Star Wars' 24-day mark, it's nearly doubled at 812 million. That's fucking bonkers. So
it'll beat it.
You think it will beat it worldwide?
I think it will. I think that. Are there any markets? It just opened in China.
China was the last market to open.
Yeah, and it just opened like last week, or it might have been this week.
I think it was this week, and it opened up to about 40 million, roughly.
Yeah, I think it'll. China's going to be huge, like huge. It'll play there for a good while. I think it's still going to have a ton of replay business in the States. I think it has a 6-week must-have in theaters contract with AMC.
Yeah.
Theaters. Yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, I saw it twice. I really liked it. I loved it the first time. Really liked it the second time. I won't see it again.
Yeah.
But I think it's got a shot. I think that China factor, if China goes up next week, that'll be that's how you'll know if it.
Well, I like I said, I think it'll be Titanic because Titanic worldwide right now is at 2.1 billion. So Star Wars is only like 400 million away from doing that. So I think it'll be Titanic, but Avatar is still sitting at 2.7. That's still about $1 billion away. Like, it's ridiculous on how much still has to go. So I don't know. We'll see. But domestically, it's the king. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I like it. It was enjoyable. The Force Awakens was enjoyable. I saw it twice.
I really like Star Wars, but I'm not I don't read the books and do all that stuff.
No, I agree. I'm kind of like, hey, I'm a casual fan. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, casual fans is a good word.
Of course, to piss George off, my favorite genre is I don't know what it is, but I think it's something to do with fucking comic books. So yeah, that's my favorite genre.
I don't know what. Are you excited for Civil War?
Of course I am.
I think that movie is gonna be legitimately great. The Russo brothers are wicked talented. It's fun watching their movies. Not to get into the whole comic book thing, but I think their movies are the ones that have artistically valid outside of the stereotypical Marvel factory blueprint. They're doing something different, whereas every other Marvel movie is the same thing with a different character in a different location.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, George has it killed my soul just a little bit, but I do agree with him. As much.
I don't like most comic book movies. Most of the time, I think they suck.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, listen, it's just the genre I latch on to the most, and I do have problems with some of them. Nothing's perfect, but I do agree with George that the best one out of Marvel's catalog so far, it debates with me. It's usually either Winter Soldier or Guardians. I like
Guardians
both.
Was really good.
Yeah,
Guardians was a lot of fun.
So yeah, I mean, listen. To each his own. I realize George is not going to like the same genre as me. That's cool, man.
You know what I'm excited for, though?
What?
Batman v Superman.
Dude, who isn't excited for that?
Well, I'm not a comic book person, and
that's true.
Shit on the trailer like it was their job, and I was one of the people like, that was awesome. Like, I don't understand. People were so pissed off. Like, it showed this, that, and the other thing. And people were saying, like, the Wonder Woman thing. People, did you expect what? I mean, what did you expect? You knew Justice League was coming. You knew she was cast. You knew they were like, what did you expect to happen? That was common knowledge. But people just make me laugh sometimes. Like,
it's hilarious. People are very, very funny. But I mean, listen, I realize that I'm a fanboy of both. I get it. But no, I'm excited for this whole slate of movies. But until then, you guys need to go see the Revenant The Hateful because you need to support those fucking movies for the love of God. So
they're the ones that need your money.
Yes, because comic book movies will make their money. People will see it, but support these smaller films because they work their asses off, especially when you watch The Revenant. So, George, thanks for coming on, man.
Man, this is always a good time.
Dude, fucking George, man, you want to go talk about Westerns with this kid? Like, seriously, we're almost on an hour and 40 minutes. It's one of the longest ones I've done. Like, yeah, so where can the good old people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at GC McCann Movies. And I have a podcast, TwoMovieBuffs. You can find me there. It's on iTunes and Podomatic. So check that out. We talk about stuff all the time.
Yeah.
We have a series called Drunken Commentary where me and Andy, we sit down with a movie and we drink and our commentary gets progressively more interesting. And actually sometimes we dive into the movies pretty well. But we're getting drunk through the process. We just did Bad Santa. Prior to that, we did Inherent Vice, Dazed and Confused, and Animal House. So that's been a hit. Check that out.
You guys need to check shit out, man. Especially the drunk commentary. Like, there's nothing more fun than seeing two fucking people just shit talk a movie or like dive into it or whatever while drinking. Like, it's great. It's such a
we never shit talk it. We really do dive into it. But this last one, we got probably the most. It's 90 minutes. We were pretty. I was drinking bourbon the whole time, so we were pretty good all the time.
Yeah. No, check out George's podcast, man. Like, listen, I only listen to a few of them, and that is one of the ones I listen to. That's how I came across George from one of the very first things I heard him in was the podcast. Check out his stuff down below. If you guys want to follow me, God help you. You know, all that stuff's down below. And if you want to follow this shitty show, listen, I love you guys, but I realize I'm not the best show on the block, but that's okay. I'm still chugging along, spewing out this every single week. So once again, if you're listening on YouTube and you want an audio-only version of this podcast, boom, link in the description below. Video version, if you are watching or listening on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud, all that will be in the description below. And the intro and outro of the music is done by my friend's band, Fervent Roze. Check them out. And so next week, episode 113. I believe the Oscar nominations are coming that way, so I believe I'm going to have I'm having a whole fucking show on the Oscar nominations. So I'll see you guys next time for episode 113. Wow. George, did you ever think I was going to make it this far? Just tell me the truth.
Dude, man, your stuff's fun. It's fun.
Thanks.
Keep doing it.
Thanks, man.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, no, you got to have the passion for it, right? That's why, George continues to do his. Yeah. It's fucking awesome. So, you know what? I'll invite George on when another Western comes on, or if another movie that he will appreciate talking about. Because, guys, listen, I love my guests a lot, and I love talking to him. But I'm not going to just invite George on and go, George, let's talk about Ride Along 2. He's going to fucking say no. So I have to pick the movies according to the person. That's why it's hard to get people. But I knew that he would appreciate this one. So thanks for coming on, man. And go check George out. We got to wrap this up, man, because an hour and 40 minutes, that's insane. But, dude, I had a good time, man.
Oh, it's always fun, man.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Real Me and Colin and Movie Podcast. And, hey, if you listen through this entire fucking thing and you weren't a movie fan, maybe I convinced you to be one. So I'm Chase Lee. I'll see you guys next week for episode 113. Let's play the outro music, motherfuckers, and go. Oh, man. That fucking Revenant, man. Lubeski, make my next movie, please.